Hey. Welcome, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. Just want to make sure everything is on up and up as far as sound is concerned. To check this before I started, but all right, yeah, so it looks like we're good. All right, welcome, everybody to Politics and Wellness. I am your host, Captivating Christian, and you guys, of course, being the co-host for this evening. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Hey, Nana Hawkins, how you doing? Good evening. Anthony, what's going on? Good evening, sir. All right, so let's get into some things, and to everybody in the balcony, because here in Cap Hill, we have a balcony, not no bushes. Um, Everybody in the balcony, hello. Aunt Donna, always great to see you. Great to see you. Let's into some things that have been going on. It's an array of things. Of course, we're going to talk a little bit about these hearings for the Supreme Court nominee. I want to kind of get your thoughts on what you feel about her, yay or nay so far from what you've heard. Even though, fortunately, she's going to confirm regardless. My main concern is what they will be able to push through in the months they have before the new president is, inaugurated. So that's my only concern. And not only with that, but, I know that a lot of the people are only focusing on a few issues like the Affordable Care Act and Roe v. Wade, but there are so many other laws that we have that are on the line with this nomination. We're talking about, of course, the Voting Rights Act, which is on the line and could be chipped away. Equality, if you're into that can all be chipped away. So there's a lot of things that go and play a role in her being ushered into the Supreme Court. What? Just a yes man for Trump? I mean, they all are. But at this point, what Trump doesn't realize is that they don't need him anymore. The Republican Party does not need to pander to him anymore. Once they get this nomination through, they may even flip on him, and all of his dirt may actually come out. All of the secrets that they've been holding may actually come out because they figure that they're losing. But at least if they have the Supreme Court and the federal courts, which they do have at this moment, what else do they need? Because you can write all the laws you want. All they have to do is be able to take it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court say it's unconstitutional and strike it down. And then, then you're back at square one. So there's always a defense to all of this, which makes everything even more like, oh, what are we doing? What's going on here? But with that said, I don't know. I mean, the hearing is great for the American people to see, so you see how the process works. But I just didn't like a lot of the Republicans, especially Lee, first and foremost, that Senator Lee, Mike Lee from Utah. First of all, he just got over, allegedly, because he may still have it, who knows, the coronavirus, and he's sitting in the chamber with no mask. He was diagnosed with corona. So instead of you protecting not only yourself, but your colleagues from the coronavirus, you kind of spit in the face of it all to want to be able to be on camera and show Donald Trump that you're, kissing the inner part of his retard alert behind. So I'm not feeling that. But other than that, when he starts talking about, that they don't use the process for political gain, I'm sitting there like, that's BS, because you're doing it. Not only are you doing it in the Supreme Court right now with this nomination, you're also doing it in the federal courts, because that's what Mitch McConnell's been doing the whole time. So the entire time, Mitch McConnell has been flooding the courts with the federal courts with federal judges. pushing them through. And of course, what's his face? Lindsey Graham has been, ushering him through. And so President Obama, in his 8 terms as president, which is 2 terms, 2 4-year terms, Donald Trump has nearly doubled, almost even tripled the amount of federal judges in 1 term. So if you want to talk about packing the court, Mitch McConnell has definitely been packing the court. So when they talk about, they don't pack the court, and if Democrats have the power, then they will pack the court, and we will have to do we will have to do the same. They've been doing it. So I think it's completely bogus. Other than that, I did get a story, and this was interesting. And I want to share it with you real quick. Just a brief rundown. I will have the story as well in my newsfeed for tomorrow afternoon. But just so you have an idea, in California, when everything was shut down, obviously the prisons were not shut. So a lot of prisoners, even though the prison population was full, hey everybody, how you doing? Thanks for coming. Welcome. As the prisons were the hot spots and the hotbeds for the coronavirus. I'm sorry, this piece of hair is getting on my nerves, and it's just looking crazy. As you know, we were all worried about the coronavirus, and the prisons were the hot spots because for some reason, they just were. In California, the prisoners were making masks and hand sanitizer and all these other things. So they were making, basically these private prisons, which a lot of them are, were still making money even in a pandemic. So when we think about the rich getting richer, even in a time like this, you would even see that private prisons were even banking off of the backs of people. I mean, so much so that people were making like a couple pennies to $1 an hour actually sewing masks and bottling hand sanitizer and just all kinds of craziness that I'm just like, this makes no sense. This makes absolutely no sense. But in this type of environment that we live in, it is all about making money. It's all about the dollar, and it doesn't matter. These people were sick. A lot of these people were still around people who are infected. They still had to, clean the infirmaries. They still had to, go about their daily life as they knew it, being incarcerated, and still, dealing with this pandemic as we were. They were dealing with it in an enclosed proximity. And, from the article, it was horrible. Like it's not a great thing. And it's something that they're actually still dealing with right now. And it's in the Los Angeles Times. Actually ran the story. It's a very interesting story. Like I said, I will have it in my newsfeed for tomorrow afternoon. So be sure to check that out. But yeah, we definitely need to keep our brothers and sisters that are incarcerated in our prayers, because they are dealing with a lot, far more than we know. Not only are they being forced to work for pennies, their freedoms are taken away from them, and then they're made to actually sit and deal with people who are infected right in their next cell or in close proximity, because they have no freedoms, unless you're in jail and you're white and rich, or just white, you might get a little extra privileges. So moving right along from that, my next question was, how do you feel about the officer who killed George Floyd? He, of course, was released off his $1 million bail, and the judge then, the lawyer actually requested it, But the judge then, a couple of days later, after he was released, granted a change in his release. His release did come with stipulations that he could not leave the state without permission from the judge. But the judge reversed his decision to allow Derek Chapin to actually leave the state for his own safety. So, with that, my issue was just this. Why would we need to be concerned about his safety when he was not concerned about George Floyd's safety? I'm just trying to understand, why do we need to be concerned so much about the person who murdered him when he wasn't concerned about his own life as he felt it slip away from him? So I'm really not understanding. I really can't grasp my head around that one. So definitely let me know what you think about that. I'll be reading the chat as we go. Why didn't they keep him in jail? Well, for one, he had there was a Christian group, a Christian super PAC, and this is a whole nother kicker, a Christian super PAC that was collecting funds for him to be released. There was a few other funds, I think, that GoFundMe had, and they froze those when they realized who it was for. They froze those, but this Christian super PAC was able to still collect monies, and they collected, a large sum. I mean, definitely totaling over the $1 million that they needed. But however, they were still able to collect it. And that's my whole thing. Even with this whole, I've grown up in the church. My whole life been in the church as a kid and growing up. But I just find it hard for us to sit and talk one message and then participate in something else. It's almost like you're using the guise of religion to carry out your racism, which is not surprising because that is what the KKK came to power on, to use the religion, the fact of the burning crosses, to instruct fear and utilize it in the best way they can. So I just find that to be totally hypocritical, because you could have raised that money and given it to the family of the victims instead of raising that money to release a murderer, a monster out in the street. Nothing can erase the look on his face as the people were screaming to, you're hurting him, you're killing him, you're this, you're that. And he just continued on as if the more they incited him to stop, the more that, gave him the rush and kind of even turned him on to continue to do so. I thought that was absolutely ridiculous. So that's why I don't really feed into this whole thing of religion. I really think religion for me is a personal relationship between God and myself. Church is great, and for those of us who participate in church, that's awesome for you. But I have a hard time participating in a doctrine that can promote hatred on any level, and then talk about love in the next. It makes no sense to me. It's almost like it's underhanded, the opposite, and they just use it, like a wolf in sheep's clothing, actually, and that's the part that gets me the most. It's like, what are we doing? You're sitting up here, you're allowed to kill people. You got Dylan Roof shooting up a church. He's treated like, like he was just lost and his parents was looking for him. He's not treated like some kind of animal. He's not gunned down like some kind of armed suspect, as he should have been, because he would have been considered armed and dangerous because of what happened. Um, and then again, like I've said previous times, they wait for the fever pitch to die down, and then the lawyers come back, who are then paid by these special interest groups, other secret racist groups that uh, gather money together, sometimes from a lot of wealthy people, uh, to help them out in their legal problems. So you have like the Dylan Roof situation, where in which now his lawyers are secretly pushing to get him off of death row. Say what? But they get to do this because we are then always looking at something else. We're like, oh, look over here. Oh, look over there. Oh, look over here. Because while we're doing that, they get to do all this extra stuff. I mean, the Ahmaud Arbery killing, you have the gang of white old thugs, the father and son thug group, their lawyers talking about they want the charges dropped. Um, Even the third party person who claimed, oh, I didn't have nothing to do with it. I just happened to, see them screaming and I jumped in my car and, went to help and see what the fuss was about, because anybody would if that happened in your neighborhood. But come to find out, he jumped in his van, he jumped in his truck, all right, but he jumped in his truck to track down Armand and kind of get him locked up in a space until the good old boys came running through to murder him. So it's just a lot. It's a lot. I'm over it. I'm so over it. I just really wish that we had not only the political power, but the economic power to really just call a thing and not be worried about the repercussions or making the other side look at us as mean and angry, when in actuality we are dying out here. We're just getting shot for no reason. I just seen the clip of the this white gentleman, and I'm not sure if the other guy he shot was white, but he was a security officer, and he wound up spraying the gentleman with mace, and so he took out his gun and shot him. The security guard ended up dying later, and the white thug who shot him. But again, he doesn't get that kind of focus as they would us. They're quick to demonize us and be like, oh, those thugs, oh, that thug, but they get a pass. And it gets to be very frustrating that they always get a pass. And it's like, enough with the passes. If we don't get a pass, we're a thug. And if we, shook and dance enough for them, they will use us to then put the blame on, like a Daniel Cameron. You're looking at the Attorney General for Kentucky dealing with the Breonna Taylor case. And every day there's a new lie that he covered up or he didn't say that comes out. But the only person it falls on is him. And the sad part for me looking at him is like, you don't realize that they're using you, that, nothing is falling on anybody else involved in that. Nothing is really falling on the police that killed that woman. Nothing is falling on the entire department as a whole. Nothing is falling on the justice system of that state. Everything is falling on who? That black man they put in front of there for him to say, but I'm black. Yeah, but what does that mean? Obviously, it means nothing to you, but it means something to them. And they're using your blackness to use you. And, you don't even see it because you so want to be accepted by whomever, whatever, that you're being utilized in a way that is totally disgusting. And yeah, some people have called him an Uncle Tom, but I mean, hey, it is what it is. If you don't see it, obviously other people see it. And of course, if you don't want to see it, then you're not going to see it. But it definitely is something that is definitely dangerous. But I don't know. So what do you guys think about um, those things thus far. I'm not gonna talk your head off. I'll let you. Or if anything, is there anything that anybody's come across? Let me know. Yeah, it is. It is definitely very much in your face. And they don't care. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, I don't care that it's in your face. I want it to be in your face. I want you to see it. Um, I find that to be really, really sad uh, and dangerous, nonetheless. It is not going to stop me from doing what I need to do, but it is still dangerous um, that people have the gumption and the gall to do the things that they do. But of course, that push and that fire is coming from the top. So of course, they're going to always feel like, yeah, um, the president's going to bail me out. Yeah, uh, the government has my back because the president said so. They feel like they're doing the service of a patriot, that they're doing the job of the nation. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for popping in. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I just find it to be a bit much. Like, I am over it. I really cannot wait for all this to be over. Hey, Gigi, how you doing? Hey, what's up, Sam? What's going on? I can't wait for all this to be over. But at the same time, though, I really want people to uh, be safe and to protect themselves. And don't let these people or these, and I'm going to just call it what it is, don't let these white thugs make you feel any type of way. We've come too far to back down now. Just, do what you have to do. Don't feel threatened by them. Don't even give them the time of day. Just do what you need to do and handle your business. Because the fear that they have is that one day we will rise up and treat them the same way that they have treated us. And for some, I guess that's a possibility for some, I guess. I mean, I've never seen it personally. I've never seen it. I've never thought about it. I mean, if anything, give people what they're due. I mean, just watching like Chakovich, I know, right? Just like watching this past episode of Lovecraft Country, and if you haven't seen the show, I do implore you to watch it. It is filled with just gems of history that could bring to light so many things that have happened to us as Black people that we seem to gloss over because, oh, we didn't live in that era. Oh, that has nothing, to do with me, but it has everything to do with you. Because when you don't know your history and you're not aware of it, you're doomed to repeat it. And not in that same way, but it happens over time. You will find yourself in that same kind of pattern. And it's almost like we're looking at that now. In the 50s and the 40s, even the 60s, there were a lot of police killings because the police have always been a gang of thugs, a gang of white thugs killing people. They've always been that way. So this is nothing new. It's just that we are able to take cameras to it now from our phones and videotape it for the world to see. Before it was just, okay, it got lost in the story and no one knew about it because if you didn't open up the local paper, if you didn't live down in those areas, you didn't really hear about what was going on unless a relative said something or anything of that nature. Hey, Virginia Redbone, what's going on? So we okay, we've come to a place where it's just never okay. It's never okay, and we should never let it be okay, and we should always fight it. It's gotten to a place where it's dangerous on both ends. It's dangerous when you speak out because now we're seeing that a lot of people in groups like a lot of leaders from Black Lives Matter groups, even the young Democrat groups. All of these young people are ending up missing, and then they wind up dead. And you're like, well, how is this happening? Easy. It has everything to do with the influence that these young people have on their communities to uprise, to make a change, to make something different. And the people who are already in power see that as a threat, and they handle the threat accordingly. But the problem, of course, always comes with you know what? Be quiet. I'm not even going there with you. The problem always comes with the power of the actual police departments. And that's why when we say defund them, this is what needs to happen. All of that extra money, all of that corruption needs to come out from those kinds of functions, and then we can then usher in something different, and something that fits our communities. We have a lot of systems in which our communities don't matter. So all we see people outside influences trying to tell us how to run our communities. And that needs to change too. But we have to play a role in that. We have to get involved and run for offices and for school boards to make sure that we are represented, that we don't have a boardroom full of white men or white women and white men telling us how our children should be educated, how our communities should look, what things we should allow in our communities. When you go to their meetings, if you're lucky enough to even go into their meetings, they make sure they come with agendas. Hey, we don't want this, don't put this, we're not having this, so on and so forth. And it's done. There's no question about it. But for us, we seem to always have this kind of, I don't want to get involved. They don't do nothing for me anyway. Why do we always need somebody to do something for us? We need to start getting to a place where we need to start doing stuff for ourselves. Actually using our influence to actually do something. Like Killer Mike, I know I did a story about this 2 days ago. Killer Mike and the founder of Bounce TV are actually starting their own digital bank. Something, of course, like a Cash App, like a Vinco or whatever that's called. But basically, you can transfer money and have a savings and a checking account, and even acquire loans, of course, for people who, you may have been incarcerated and you got a barbershop and you want to expand, or, you have some other kind of business that you want to expand, but you can't really get the capital because of your past. They're working on actually having funding that you can get outside of the commercial banks to help grow your business. So that's why I think it's definitely good to support. I think it was called Greenwood. Don't quote me. I'll go back and check, but I believe it's Greenwood. Do you remember the first guy? Yeah, I do. And he mysteriously died. The gentleman from even the Michael Brown case, the witness from the Michael Brown case, he became an activist. He was Michael Brown's friend, and he became, a large activist in the community after Michael Brown was killed. He wound up murdered. So there has been a whole system of going after influential people in our communities. And yeah, we may think of it as, nothing big, but it is something big. It's kind of, killing off anybody that would change the atmosphere of the people. Like a Martin, like a Medgar Evers. All of these people, granted, we see them now, we read about them now, and we think of them as larger than life people because of the influences that they had. But if we just take all that out of it, they were normal people with families, just trying to make a difference. And their impact in their communities were so large, much larger than even they were, that people had to squash them, that they felt like they had to stop them so that we don't want to give them any sense of hope, any sense of, okay, well, let's find a way to fight back. I mean, because even Martin himself kind of shifted from this non-violence to, all right, we need to handle this a different way. Hey, how you doing? Welcome to everybody coming into the chat. Welcome. I'm just rambling, but don't mind me. We have come into a different space, that maybe these sit-ins and these marches aren't helping. We need to kind of update and do something different. So then, hold on. So then we need to update and do something different. So I was just wondering, like, okay, so if he felt that way, and hold on, give me 1 second, guys. Hold on 1 second. Hey, okay, sorry about that. So where was I? Yeah, so eventually even Martin himself had a change of, okay, maybe we need to change this dynamic and do something different. And in doing something different, maybe that meant more organizing. He started to even look at, hey, there are far more poor white people than there are people of color. And hey, if I can reach out to them and show them, hey man, like, you going at this the wrong way. I know they may have told you that, hey, you may be better than me because of your skin color, but look at what you're dealing with and the people that you are supporting, and they're allowing you to live like this. And here I am struggling to be presented as a man when I see someone like you. And no offense to you, but I'm doing better than you. I have, doctorate degrees. My wife is well educated. My children are well taken care of. And, it may be a struggle for me, but I'm making money. And here you are supporting hatred. Your hatred for me is so strong that you're supporting people that aren't even giving you a chance to even better yourself. Like, what are we doing? What are you doing? So, and when he did the poor people's campaign, I think people started to see that and see the bigger picture, as if he would have been able to unite people, erase the color, and just unite people on finances alone, on, hey, you trying to get equal pay, so am I. If we come together, we could force them to actually, give us a better union, have more pay, so on and so forth. And yeah, that for people who are all about money, that's a problem. So we need to understand that a lot of times our young people, especially our young people that are influential in things in the community, may not always be about what we think. It's definitely something greater. Should you see look on their faces when they realize that they have been voting against the interest of, yeah, I mean, they don't even get it. Their hatred is so thick with, like, oh, like even with the Affordable Care Act. We can just use that as a prime example. Now, with the Affordable Care Act, of course, everybody only talks about uh, pre-existing conditions because, of course, that is a huge part of it. But there's a lot of people with pre-existing conditions. I mean, it is what it is. And a lot of things can be a pre-existing condition. Coronavirus right now will be a pre-existing condition for anyone who has had it and been infected with it and will no longer have it. They will still have a pre-existing condition. So if the Republicans would get their way, they would then chop it. But the only reason why people are so gun-ho, like, oh, let's get rid of it, let's change it, is because other people started to name it Obamacare, and they knew exactly what they were doing when they named it Obamacare and not the Affordable Care Act. They named it Obamacare because why? Because people who would just be angry that first and foremost there was a black man in office, you would be extra angry with anything with his name on it because of what he represents to you. So it didn't even matter that it was pre-existing conditions and that it helped millions upon millions of people to actually get better health care because their insurance was no longer able to say, well, we can cover this, but we're not going to cover this. And we're not even going to cover this specialist that you would have to go to in order to, further your treatment. They would have to do it under the ACA. So, but because again, you just said, oh, well, I don't know. I just don't like them. So I'm going to just do this. We need to get rid of it. Okay. But then at the same time, you suffer from that. Your hatred is so big that you would, choose to suffer than to actually say, take a step back and go, you know what? Listen, we sitting here fighting for the same things. We are. We're definitely sitting here fighting for the same thing. So then I don't understand. Grandma couldn't get insured, and she's not smoking Bisons. I don't even know what are those. I didn't even know what those are. Benson and Hedges. I have no idea. Are those cigarettes? No. When my mother smoked, she smoked Virginia Slims. That's all I knew. That and like Newport's black people cigarettes, but I didn't know nothing about that. But yeah, I mean, it is so like this system is so corrupt and crazy, but it is driven by race. It is driven by race because even if they had, even if, say, like I said before, if Martin was able to kind of bridge that gap a little bit to where in which poor white people, the poorest of the poor, I mean, the ones that, would get jealous of a Black Wall Street or a Rosewood and actually, want to destroy it because that's all those were. I mean, and it was tons of massacres. Not only just that, but there's the Charleston Church massacre, which would be considered a massacre as well. There was one in Philly in the 80s. There were tons in the early 1900s, around 1919, just all around. And, we only know about a few of them. And yet these same people always talk about, well, what do you need reparations for? What do you mean? For the mass murders that you guys have committed against our people just for bettering ourselves, just for having a little more than you. You get so jealous, you get so frustrated that you then want to destroy it and figure, well, if I don't have it because I should have it, then you're not going to have it either. And, you get to a point where enough's enough. Enough is enough. I, Yeah, I mean, I was surprised too when I actually came across a meme for Love Craft Country, and they were talking about the Black Wall Street massacre because that was the theme of the show. Excuse me, that they wind up somebody wind up putting together a montage of all of the massacres from Rosewood and others, most of them that I myself didn't even hear about, that I was like, oh wow. And it just makes you want to research and do more. And when I started even looking up before the show, looking up a few here and there, the only thought that was running through my head was all they talk about is reparations for slavery. But you could come a little closer to modern day and think, okay, yeah, how about the reparations for that? How about the reparations for that? Because a lot of these massacres started from a lie of this man raped this woman, when in actuality it's probably nothing but jealousy, nothing but you see affluent people of color and you don't like it because you feel like you should be elevated to that place. But in actuality, your lack of education, your lack of skill has put you in that place. And like, what is his name? Comedian Paul Mooney. Like Paul Mooney would say, if you did not use your whiteness to better yourself, then that's on you, and you're to blame for that. So when I look at a lot of the the coal miners in West Virginia that say, "Oh well, um, you can't get rid of the coal mines. You can't get rid of the coal mines. The coal mines are needed. Who's using coal anymore?" And all of the money that, because it's mainly white people that work in the coal mines. I've been to West Virginia. It's not too far from where I'm at. I don't know very few black coal workers, but I'm sure there are some. But for the longest time, before there even were a few people of color working the coal mines, it was mainly a white Caucasian managed job. And they were able to, um, you know, get houses and kind of live a decent life off that. So you mean to tell me in the years that you guys were able to have a whole head start jump, even dealing with that? I'm not even going way far back. I'm just dibbling and dabbling maybe in the 40s and 50s, that you were not able to then take yourself and transport yourself further to something greater, and then that's my fault. Okay. That we were able to take the little scraps that we did get from a table and kind of make it work. But you sit there in less than and be mad because I have and you don't. All right. That I have and you don't. I don't get it. Um, and that's something I don't know, that I'm not sure if I will ever get. Because my whole thing is, if you're seeking something, then you will find it. But if you're just gonna sit on your behind and think that it's supposed to be given to you because you are who you are, I think there's a reality check that needs to happen. But that also comes with education, because the education that they have been taught is just that because of who they are and because of where they quote unquote come from, that they're destined to be given everything. They're conquerors of all this stuff. They created civilization. And it's like, how could you create something that was already here before you got here? But they really believe that. They believe that they are the creators of modern civilization. They don't want to ever talk about, oh, you mean going to Alexandria in Egypt, and you mean stealing from the library and then creating your own thing, and then making people believe that the Plato's and the Socrates and all of those came up with the modern things of what we consider government today. Okay, I'll wait. So you mean to tell me everybody else was walking around savages? Um, yeah, and then you guys just came along and saved us all? Come on, please, save it. Save it. But of course, when that's the history that you are taught, and that's what you believe, it becomes real to you. And we need not to fall into that trap. So for those of you that have nieces, nephews, children, grandchildren, I just suggest getting them books outside of the curriculum and letting them learn about their own history, and not just on February, not just in Black History Month, but every month, all year round. Um, and it has them create pride within themselves and an understanding and knowing of who they are and where they come from. And this is not a thing to even bash other people and other races, but what we lack that they do have is a sense of ethnic pride. At the end of the day, they still have pride in who they are and where they come from. No matter how long they've been assimilated into the states or the culture in the United States or the Western world, they still have a sense of pride. We lack that. We truly lack that. Everybody likes to huddle around and come around and chill out in February. First of all, it's too cold for me to be outside doing any kind of marches or celebrations. I'm not doing it. Too cold. But at the same time, we only tote the same people every February. What you see, Martins, you see the Malcolms, there's so many people that have been a part and framed our history that need to be highlighted. And it would take more than 28 days, 29 on a leap year to really give those people their due diligence and their rewards for all that they have done. So, yep. Oh, thank you, Redbone. But yeah, I said enough. Is there any questions, comments, concerns? Thank you, Virginia Redbone. Even though I don't know who you are, yes, I appreciate your love. Likewise. You missed a lot. Yes, TC, you did miss a lot. But it's great to see you as always. It was just nothing but me rambling on about stuff. But you guys do help. You're like the therapy part. Because sometimes this can be a lot. Like doing this every day and seeing. So that's why sometimes if you don't see a news reel, please hold it to my mind and not my heart. Because sometimes, of course, YouTube does its own thing, but sometimes it could be a lot. Like, and you're just like, well, what can you do? What can you do? What can you do? And you try to find avenues to in which you can help and donate and do all these things, but at the same time, it's a lot, and especially when no justice is being served at the same time. And that's the killer. For me, that's the part that makes all of it extra. More salt on a wound that's already wounded is that the people, especially when they're completely and utterly innocent, when they can't find anything in the media to kind of discredit or dismantle the victim, and they still go without justice, I think that's totally crazy. Yeah. Not Professor Cap. That's funny. Also, I did come across an article. I didn't fully read it yet, but just the image alone got me kind of like, whoa. These police officers on horseback captured someone, and it really looked like a scene out of Django or something like that. Now, and this is where I say that the education, even on both sides, is kind of like, whoa. This is a problem that no one even took a second and thought this through. Like, well, we can't do that. That would probably be way problematic, even considering the state of the nation right now. That these police officers or these sheriffs on horseback rounded up this man and made him, roped him up kind of like with his hands all bound, and he was following the two officers on horseback. And I'm like, what the hell? I did gloss over the article. I didn't really go into depth and find out what was the reason for the roundup, but I did read that the family of that young man, they're supposed to be suing that county in Texas for $1 million. Yeah, and I mean, I really just I don't get it. Like, and again, for people to discredit or overlook it, even in our own community, even with the Candace Owenses and that whole thing. I mean, that's a whole nother thing I want to get into, but just real quick, to jump on the Candace Owens thing, this is my problem with her, right? And I know she's not going to see this, but even if she had the opportunity to see this, my biggest thing that I wish she would have seen through all of this is that it's funny how you can be a Republican, right? And your own party didn't see it enough for you to invite you to the convention where all the Republicans are, the loonies, the sophisticated, the whatever. That's the Republican, the hub, right? The big dance, so to speak, for the party. So you mean to tell me that your party that you go hard for didn't see it enough for you to come there, but they saw it enough for you to go to the clown show, and then you paid for other clowns to come there and do whatever, in a fully coronavirus hub. Okay, I'm confused. Like, they don't see it for you. Again, another one being used by the puppet. Like the puppet master is using you, and you don't even see it. And if you do see it, you really don't care because you hate not only yourself but your people so much due to whatever, and a lot of people, that have been teased and talked about, they seek revenge, and whatever revenge, however, whoever gets it, doesn't matter. It's just that hatred, that pain, that hurt, and it's enough. It's enough. It really is enough. I'm over it. Oh, thank you so much, Casey. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. Welcome. Um, but yeah, like those people, I can't even see it for them, especially when their argument is always looking at the victim as the criminal, when the actual criminal is the person who's supposed to enforce the law. Those are the actual criminals in many cases. Because if your job is just to apprehend and send them to the judge for the judge to pass judgment or convict or whatever, then that is just your job. All that other stuff that they like to do, thinking that they're in some kind of game or some kind of Call of Duty game where it's like, oh, we got to take them out or take them down. This is why the system needs to be defunded, not gotten rid of, because we all need police. Well, we all need protection and safety. All right. Because we also know that there are some people, even in our own communities, that they don't want to see growth. They don't want to see something better. They would rather just keep it the way it is or just deal with what they deal with. Granted, we understand that. So, of course, we need a form of protection, be it police or whatever kind of system is created. But this one that we have, no. This one that we have is not going to work. Not going to work. Not when they get tons of money that could actually go into the community to create drug rehab programs that really work. Not these, fly by person on drugs 50 years opens up a thing. I'm not saying that recovery does not give you the sense to actually want to teach others, but for some cases, and in a lot of the inner cities, they have a lot of these little pop-up program places, and they're still in the communities around where all this drugs and stuff is. So you like, how are these people actually getting fixed? Because they're not. They're just cleaning them up a little bit, enough for, I guess, the program to get government funds and They pushed him back out there in the street because they can walk right outside, have a cigarette, and wind up bumping into the same people that they deal with. So then where is the program? Where is the change? Um, and we need to start getting involved in our communities where we get to say, you know what? No, that's not what I want for my community. That's not what I want for my neighborhood. Right. And the Soviets are loving it, of course, because it's chaos. It's destruction of a government that we promote as being the best, better than any other government. Look at us. We are the example for the world. Now, he found a way to kind of, pour some poison into it. So now it's like, okay, look, they're not so great. Their system really doesn't work all that well. And it doesn't when there's corruption involved. Nothing really works with corruption within. Nothing. And especially at a particular level where it's no one checking it. You have no one. You have not even anybody in the party saying, hey, wait, whoa, this is going a step too far. I mean, everybody's in on it. And my issue is going to be when all of the smoke clears and the dust settles, I don't want it to be a Lincoln situation. Like, I do not want it to be a Abraham Lincoln situation. And what I mean by that is just this. When the war was over and General Lee surrendered, Lee was not convicted of a crime. None of the other generals were convicted of a crime. Jefferson Davis was not convicted of a crime and put in jail or hung. None of these people were. It was like, oh, let it go. Let's move on and grow together. Like as if you just had a fight with your brother and I'm sorry, I froze there for a second, so excuse me. Like you just had a fight with your brother, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, okay, we're back friends again. Or your best friend, oh, we're back friends again. No. What needs to happen is justice needs to happen. They need to be convicted, and they need to actually be imprisoned. We don't need another, oh, it's over with, let's move on and move forward, because what will happen is that will grow. And it will get so large to the point where we won't be able to stop it a second time. So yeah, they definitely need to check that, because I don't want to see but like they all need to be in jail. If in fact they get to arrest Trump, he needs to be put in jail. Now, if Biden tries to give him a pardon because, oh, you want to make it seem like we're unified, so make sure you give him a pardon and you pardon his criminal activity. If he does that, his ass will be gone. I'm sorry. I will be pushing for him to get impeached because that's crazy. But that's the type of stuff that we promote in times in which we don't need to be promoting that. Trying to get the GED, keep that money going. Right. I mean, I don't get it. Right. The hell, I don't even want to hear it. I don't want to hear none of it. I don't want to hear none of it. If in fact they come knocking at the door to arrest his ass, put him in jail, lock him up like he's been screaming for everybody else, lock him up for the crimes. And if that means you got to lock his family up, lock them up too. The hell? Why are we, oh, we don't want to do that. Hell, if it was somebody else, you would have locked them up. When you think about it, that is what happened. They fought their family. Right, yeah, right. They fought their family and just said, oh, okay, enough's enough. Cool, because you didn't think about the other people that died in that battle. You didn't think about, the enslaved people that fought for you that died in that battle, or that continued to be enslaved even after it was over, because again, we didn't kind of sort of matter even. So, why would it? But you see what your family went and did to you. Even still, you let them go because you're thinking, okay, swiping a hand, we good. And they came back and still said, you know what? Thank you for giving me that pass, but I'm going to still try to do something to fuck you over. And then on top of that, now we're still dealing with that. And we still talk about don't knock down these statues and stuff. They're my heritage. Where? Whose heritage? Whose heritage? They were traitors. They were people who was fighting against this government. So therefore, if they were fighting against this government, anybody who fights against this government is what? An enemy of the government. So then therefore, that's it. So point blank, period. Nothing else to say. But we will always have this difference of opinion when it comes to others, because they don't see, when they see each other, they see each other as family. They see each other as kinfolk. So they could do the most heinous of things, but they still see the humanity in themselves when they see each other. And that's what we don't see. We don't see the humanity in each other when we look at each other. But a lot of us have been trained that way, subconsciously. We don't. We turn on the TV, and instantly it's always, oh, we're the criminal, we're the crime, we're the this, we're the that. And it's like, oh, okay. But I'm sure that this happens in Lilyville too. This happens in the suburbs, but it's not promoted. It's not promoted because they don't want you to know what they do. They don't want to be viewed as the criminals and the thugs. So they're not going to show that. But that's just what they are. They are criminals. They are thugs. They are just as thuggish and just as criminal as when you see the, young people with the pants down and the hat and the this and the that, and you I lock my doors around them too. I don't play no games. They walk by my car in the supermarket, click, and they be looking at me all crazy. Don't look at me. I don't know what you might do. You got a hunter's hat on and you're not hunting, I'm locking my door. I don't know what you might do. You look crazy. You look like you might shoot up something. No way. No, thank you. I'll pass. I'll wait. I ain't messing with you. Don't worry about it. Right. I mean, they don't know who they are. They don't know anything about themselves. I mean, would they, in fact, know who they are? I mean, they come from the mountains. They come from caves. It's a mutation. They were basically, for those of you who've watched Lord of the Rings, they were Smeagol's. They're Smeagol's. And the funny part for me, and I'll end on this note, the funny part for me is, as much as they like to talk about us being monkeys or ape-like, look at our characteristics and actually look at the facial features of an actual ape or a monkey or a chimpanzee. They have smaller, thin lips, right? Do we know of any Black people with small, thin lips? Absolutely not. So I'm just like, and all of the things, come on. You're fooling yourself. Have several seats. When they start talking that monkey business, I'm like, oh, are you talking to yourself? Are you calling for your own family members? Because if you do shave off their fur, they will be just as pink as you. The only thing that, is the fur that gives them the color. But if you shave off their fur and you just leave them there, they will just be as pink as you. So, I mean, I really don't understand. Correction. They are more thuggish than real savages. That part is true. You are right there. Yeah, they definitely are. And they think they own and belong to everything. And that's why this whole mask wearing thing is killing them, because somebody else is telling them what to do, because they're used to telling you what to do. And the fact that you have to tell them, sir, please don't come in. You can't come in without your mask is almost like, what? How do you dare you tell me what to do? My ancestors built this place. No, your ancestors ain't built shit. They didn't even design it, let alone build it. They did not design it, let alone build it. Okay. And that's a true fact. That's a true fact. Most of everything that you see built, especially in the nation's capital, was not only built and designed by people of color, but they were also stolen designs from places like France, from places like, Greece and other places. So, I mean, they did not think about it and like, oh, let's do this great thing. I mean, even the Continental Congress, which was actually the government before the government was formed, was run by a Moor. And if you don't know what Moors or are people of dark skin, black people, nonetheless. Um, yeah. So I mean, it's like grow to know. And the more you know, the more you grow. Uh, but please don't allow other people to dictate who you are and where you come from. Please know yourself and know your worth, and know that you don't always have to be a certain way. You don't always have to shoot and drive to entertain. You can do other things. You can utilize your abilities and your skills. And of course, no, not everybody's going to like it, but hell, um, it's all about what makes you feel good. And as long as you're pushing something to push the people forward, even to make them think harder or want greater for themselves, then you've accomplished your goal. It may not always be glittering, glamorous, but there may be something. I've come across a few people, some people close in my life, and some people that I've met doing this YouTube thing that have either messaged me or texted me and said, hey, because of you, I am voting for the first time in my life. And some of these people are a lot older, and some of these people are younger. And that's great. That is great. Excuse me. Excuse me. That is just what I do this for. We have to start somewhere. We can't always complain about why this is and why that's not, and not actually utilize and come together and teach people, even in the smallest of ways, how the system works. What is this system that you've been in all this time, and how to work it, or what to do to where do I start? And so for that, I am eternally grateful. Not even knowing what I wanted to do, just like, okay, I guess since I'm always watching this or talking about this, I guess I could kind of do something to where in which I'm just being, just normally, just blah, 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 just talking. And hopefully it'll reach some people. And, you guys come back with your feedback and your comments and your stories, which are great. Because sometimes I miss stuff too, and I'm like, oh no, I didn't read that, or I didn't hear about that. So trust and believe that nothing is never not talked about, not sourced. A lot of times, something that I may read or something that I may be given, I'll hold on to it because it may be best suited for me for today, for like a kind of where I really want to get into it. But then sometimes it is it's just like, wow, like I did not know this. And sometimes I feel bad, like, oh, I didn't even read this, but I'm not in every state, so I'm not like, oh, what's popping on in this state. If it pops across my news or something, I will of my news outlets that I follow, I will look into it. So I am very thankful to you guys, honestly and truthfully, for all that you do. To my moderators, thank you so much for always holding the fort down and just keeping this Cap Hill's doors open and ushering the right folks in and those other folks out. Thank you so much. And yeah, I just try to just plant a seed, man. And that's the best we can do. You plant it and then you water it by continuing on in your research and learning new things. Hey, coming back to me and telling me, hey, this is what I learned. Or when you're talking with your own group of friends and you start saying, well, oh, I know what that hearing was about. This hearing was about this. And they're looking at you like, how do you know that? That's great. That's what I live for. So that's really cool and awesome. So with that, guys, I've spoken enough. Don't forget, the gentleman's panel will be here at Cap Hill on Thursday. So please make sure you tune in for that. And I do believe, I'm not sure, but I got to check, that the nightcap will be this Friday. But if and so, I will post, but just got to work out some scheduling. And that's why I didn't make it a permanent, I haven't made it a permanent thing yet, because I'm just trying to fill it out as far as scheduling, uh, how I want to work that. But I enjoy your feedback from the nightcap. If you haven't seen it, please do check it out. It is a new show I'm kind of throwing out there that is different from my political things. It's a little more laid back, a lot more laid back actually, and just a different side. I'm not a one trick pony, nor do I try to be, but I do believe that getting people informed about politics, about the world, about social issues that's going on in our communities is far more important. But yeah, too, I do like to, let all this down and chill out too. So that's more what that's about. So again, if you haven't checked it out, please check out the nightcap, and new episodes should be coming up pretty soon. So be on the lookout for that. So if you do get a notification that I am live and it's around 11 o'clock at night, 11 or 12 o'clock at night, definitely be sure to tune in, because you'll be thoroughly entertained. But with that, anyway, have a great night. God bless. Good night. And I am out. Peace. And thank you all.